He didn't just kick Mayhay, did it in front of everyone. Right in the middle of our own damn housewarming, with his friends grinning, the neighbors gawking, even that new receptionist from his office, standing there like she was waiting for a show. 1 second I was handing out drinks, try to ignore the tightness in my chest. The next I was flat on my back, heels twisted, the room so quiet you could hear the ice melting in someone's glass. Victor just stood there above me, champagne flute in hand, smiling like he'd just won some trophy for best husband. "She talks too much," he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Now you all see what I deal with every day." And I swear, some people actually laughed. Not everyone, but enough to make it sting. You ever get humiliated so bad you feel like you're peeling your own skin off just to get away from the pain? That was me. I'd spent 4 years patching over his flaws, ignoring the signs, trying to convince myself that love was supposed to hurt sometimes. But when I pulled myself up off that floor and saw him smirking, something broke clean inside me. The man I married, the one I built a business with, who held my hand when my mother deed was gone. All that was left was this stranger, and I promised myself right there in front of God and everybody that I'd take him down so quietly, so thoroughly, he'd never know what hit him. If you've ever been humiliated by someone who swore to protect you, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You know that cold, shaky fury that builds in your bones. So here's how it started. Victor and I, we met in this cramped little bookstore, both of us broke as hell, clinging to dreams we'd barely begun to shape. I was running my aunt's food delivery startup. He was trying to launch a tech blog on a busted old laptop. For 6 months, I thought he was my partner, maybe even my soulmate. My friend said he was ambitious. I called him focused. He proposed fast, and I said yes even faster. What I didn't know was that Victor saw me as a ladder, not a partner. When my mom passed and I inherited $5 million, I poured it all into his digital dream. Within 2 years, he had money, better clothes, a new apartment, a car. Suddenly, he wanted to divide roles. He'd handle the business accounts. I should just focus on being his queen. But little by little, I disappeared inside my own life. His meetings became wild parties. Coworkers became random women in our house. There were hairs on the pillow that weren't mine, lipstick on his shirts, perfumes I didn't wear. And every time I asked, he gaslit me, told me I was paranoid, insecure, jealous. So I shrank. I shrank so he could shine. Until that night. Victor threw this huge party for a promotion, invited everyone he ever met, even investors I'd never heard of. I found out about it 2 days before did the work anyway. Food, cleaning, decorations, best dress on because that's what I did. When his friend made some joke about me being too traditional, Victor shrugged and said, "She's learning her place." I tried to leave quietly, but tripped on the rug, and instead of helping, he gave me a little shove just enough to send me sprawling. And he laughed. The music came back on. The party never stopped. But for me, it was over. I locked myself in the bathroom and cried harder than I had since my mom's funeral. But by sunrise, something shifted. I started pulling out old files, business licenses, bank statements, property deeds. And you know what? Every damn thing Victor thought was his was actually in my name. The house, the company, even his car, bought on my mother's trust account. He was living on borrowed power, and I was ready to pull the plug. Next morning, he didn't say sorry, just tossed his keys on the table and asked why I embarrassed him. That's when I smiled. "You think I embarrassed you, Victor? You haven't seen anything yet." He just laughed and walked out, but I was already dialing the bank, freezing our accounts, removing his name from the business paperwork. By noon, his car got declined to the gas station. By night, the locks were changed and his security code was wiped. He came home just before midnight, drunk and angry, banging on the gate. "Open up. I live here." I watched from behind the curtain and flinch, didn't move. For the first time, I felt powerful. Victor spent that night in his car. I watched him from the upstairs window, headlights fading, rage turning to confusion. At 3 a.m., I went to bed, not because I was tired, but because I knew the game had started and I held every card. If you've ever taken your power back in silence, you know the taste of that first breath of freedom. By morning, he was gone, probably crashing at his friend Lus, the same guy who'd laughed when I fell. Good. Let it be their problem now. I got dressed in the same white suit I wore the day I registered my company. Drove to the bank. The manager stared at my documents, mother's trust, business certificates, the will, every proof that I'd built this whole empire. You're the sole signatory now, he said. I nodded. It wasn't revenge, it was restoration. At the office, Victor was a ghost. The staff whispered. Some even asked if I was okay. He kicked me in front of all of you, I said quietly, and now I'm kicking him out. By the afternoon, every company decision ran through me. Victor got the news by email suspended for financial mismanagement. He called me, sent voicemails, accused me of ruining him. You think freezing my accounts makes you powerful? I made you, he shouted. I laughed out loud. No, Victor. I was the soil, the sun, and the seed. You just stood in my shade. At 6 p.m., Victor showed up with 2 police officers. Yeah, police. Claimed I locked him out illegally, seized his property. I walked down with the deeds and bruises. Officers, this is my house. It's in my name, bought with my inheritance. He has no tenancy, no ownership. And these bruises? He did that. The officers turned to him. Oga, if madam get paper, get case. Go to court. Victor's face cracked. I made one mistake, he spat. No, I replied, closing the gate. You made 1,000. That night, Victor spiraled online. Burner accounts, fake posts claiming I used witchcraft, that I was unstable, that I'd stolen everything. Let him scream in the dark. My cousin Tara texted me. You have light and receipts. But you know what I didn't see coming? The other women. Oneser met me in the courthouse, said she'd been with Victor for a year, thought he was moving out for her. Showed me receipts, chat logs, even recordings of Victor bragging about how easy it was to scam emotional women. She wasn't the only one. Together, we built a case-legal, public airtight. Emergency injunction froze any new businesses in his name. Group chats started buzzing. Is this your king? The court date came. Victor tried to spin his story crying online, playing the victim, selling lies to blogs. But this time, the receipts spoke louder. The judge looked through the documents, listened to the audio, and declared every asset, every property, every business mine. You are ordered to vacate, surrender all keys, and have no access to her accounts. Victor froze. Sandra, his newest sidekick, walked away without a word. As I walked out of that courtroom, the sun hit my face just right. That night, I poured myself a glass of wine and sat in silence, not the lonely kind, but the victorious kind. People messaged, reporters called. Even Victor's mom sent a letter, warning me the war wasn't over. But for the first time in years, I felt peace. If you're still watching, if this story hit home, let me ask, what would you do if someone tried to erase you? Power doesn't always scream. Sometimes it just signs paperwork and waits. Smash that like button, share your story in the comments, and subscribe. Because trust me, the next chapter, yours or mine, will be even louder.